Let me ask you, why did you call President Trump a fascist and a deranged racist sociopath in 2020?
Congressman, I appreciate the opportunity to address this. I regret those tweets. I would not tweet them again today. They represented a time where I was reflecting on something that I believe that the president had said rather than who he is. I don't presume that anyone is a racist.
You don't believe anyone is a racist?
I don't start by presuming anyone is a racist, sir.
Okay.
Tim Pool torches woke NPR and its CEO, Catherine Maurer, after she is roasted for her deranged, woke, and completely biased comments as she is exposed for being a mouthpiece for the far left. Tim Pool reacts and torches this woke lunatic and this taxpayer-funded outlet for pushing woke propaganda and says it needs to be shut down. Let's jump in.
NPR and PBS, you done. The GOP is going to defund the chronically biased NPR and PBS after a disastrous hearing, and everybody agrees. So this hearing that went viral has the CEO of NPR saying, we're not biased, we are not. And then you get GOP reps being like, why did you say that we are white supremacists? She's like, whoops. And then he goes, why did you call Trump a fascist and a racist? And she goes, whoops. Every step of the way. She just keeps saying, whoopsie. Now, NPR isn't directly funded by the U.S. government, but some funding does come from the government. Largely, I believe, through USAID's gutting and moves. It's the, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting? Yeah, Corporation for Public Broadcasting. I believe they are the ones who actually get the funds. So here we go. Check this out. This is the game that they're playing. It's going to get nuked. It's extremely biased. I've got some clips for you. Let's start by showing you just how screwed up this is with this testimony from Catherine Maurer that's going to make you laugh your ass off.
There's no bias on NPR.
That is not a
That is not a biased statement, ma'am. That is not even both parties wrap themselves around this song every time there's a national conflict. Lee Greenwood sings it, and he does a beautiful job, but you say there is no bias in NPR.
That is that individual's opinion, and she, of course, is entitled to it, but that is not the position of NPR.
Ma'am, you said in your opening statement that you were going to be transformative, and I believe you failed to do that. Let me ask you, why did you call President Trump a fascist and a deranged racist sociopath in 2020?
Congressman, I appreciate the opportunity to address this. I regret those tweets. I would not tweet them again today. They represented a time where I was reflecting on something that I believe that the president had said rather than who he is. I don't presume that anyone is a racist.
You don't believe anyone is a racist?
I don't start by presuming anyone is a racist, sir.
You don't think anyone's a racist. Even Burchett's like, some people are racist.
Ever conducted an internal review to assess whether conservative or right-leaning perspectives are fairly representative news and programming?
Congressman, what we look at is the distribution of people who listen to our work, and we can...
Blah, blah, blah. She basically then goes on to say 33% of our viewers are conservative, which is basically saying, yeah, they listen, but they know you're biased. Now, here's where it gets good. Check this out.
Mr. Berliner was suspended for the outside work policy, not for what he said, sir. In terms of federal funding, the federal funds go to support our operation of the public radio satellite system, which enables all of our local stations to be able to communicate information and broadcast, including...
As stated earlier, ma'am, funding is very fungible. It flows wherever it needs to. I don't buy that argument.
We do have
I wonder if any of the members of the committee would comment real quickly. Would you agree that Real America's Voice, Newsmax, Fox, or News Nation, if they were to see federal funds, would you all support that? Yes or no?
Look at that, shaking his head.
Mr.
No.
Ullman?
No.
Yes or no?
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Oh, here we go.
I actually don't have an opinion about that.
Ma'am?
I don't have an opinion about that, sir. That would be Congress's decision.
Thank you, Chair Lady.
Amazing. And then, of course, you've got this other video, which is hilarious. Check this one out.
America is addicted to white supremacy.
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said You took a day off to fully read the case for reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I had no doubt that.
Of course she did. And that's why she was chosen as the president and CEO of NPR.
Yeah, I agree with Tim Pool. That's exactly why she got picked. She's just another mouthpiece for the far left. And when you look at some of these people who are running these organizations on the left, they are vehement far leftists. I mean, they want nothing to do with the right. And then they don't even bother to look at their own company and their own, journalists and see if there's a bias in anything. We see it on CNN. We see it on MSNBC, New York Times, NPR. You can go on. You can see the left-sidedness to the extreme. And it's like, if you just look at the people, it's no wonder they are. They don't care about having equal voices in their company or, whoever outlet. Like, all they want to do is push the message. There's just someone else carrying the mantle. And they're not even aware of some of the stuff they're saying. They're just tweeting it. But she may have just been lying about some of this, just going along with it because she was told to. But either way, this woman is just a mouthpiece for the far left. And even though all their funding may not come from the federal government somehow, anything to any of these organizations needs to be funded. I mean, like those people shaking their heads, they don't want it to go to anyone else. Guess what? They don't deserve it themselves. Defund all of these people because they're just pushing propaganda, folks. It's pretty disgusting. Let me know what you think in the comments. Leave a like if you're enjoying the video, and let's get back in.
Here's the game they're playing. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB, is an American publicly funded nonprofit created in 1967 to promote and help support public broadcasting. The corporation's mission is to ensure universal access to non-commercial high-quality content and telecommunications services. It does so by distributing more than 70% of its funding to more than 1,400 locally owned public radio and television stations. Shut it down. Goodbye. This is not market. These stations are only up because the government's paying for it. Look at this. Revenue, $582 million. I got a question for each of you. What could you do with $582 million? I'd imagine it's a lot. That's amazing. The CPP's annual budget is composed entirely of annual appropriation from Congress plus interest. So they go on to mention its appropriation for 2025 was $535 million, including $10 million in interest earned. The funds go to local public television stations, television programming grants, grants to radio national programming, blah, blah, blah. Efforts to defund. Here we go. They go on to say the board composition, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care. In 2004 and 2005, people from PBS and NPR complained CBP was starting to push a conservative agenda. Board members replied that they were merely seeking a balance. You know what? You're right. Maybe they were seeking a conservative agenda. Here's what we'll do. Shut the whole thing down. I don't know why the government is in the business of espousing radio messaging. Not interested. That should be private. They're going to mention the Public Broadcasting Act of 1967 requires CBP to operate with a strict adherence to objectivity and balance in all programs or series of programs of a controversial nature. It also requires it to regularly review national programming for objectivity and balance and to report on its efforts to address concerns about objectivity and balance. Back to the question asked by Rep. Burchett in the beginning, which I will play for you.
They represented a time where I was reflecting on something that...
You don't believe anyone is a right? Yes, conservative or right-leaning perspectives are fairly internal review to...
Have you ever conducted an internal review?
Assess whether conservative or right-leaning perspectives are fairly representative news and programming.
Congressman, what we look at is the distribution of people who listen to our work, and
what we look at? She's implying that they don't actually do an internal review to check for bias and objectivity, which is required under that law from 1967.
I can tell you, and I'm proud to tell you, that for our digital, our podcasts and our website, the distribution of Americans who come to NPR does reflect the political distribution of the nation. In fact, the distribution on our websites, 33% of folks who come are conservative versus 28% who are liberal, and the rest identify as independent. So the largest group is conservatives who come to NPR's websites.
So you believe that most Americans think President Trump is a fascist and deranged racist?
With all due respect, my response would have been, Ma'am, the question was, have you conducted an internal review? Not, do you attract certain audiences? If the argument she's making is that the audience shows we are not biased, I say no, because literally every conservative thinks you are biased. It's just that conservatives actually listen to news from perspectives they don't get.
And that right there is a great point by Tim Pool. And I think that's why you have people stuck in the woke bubble, because people who are independent, people who are on the right, we listen to all sorts of different news outlets to get different perspectives because we want to know what everyone is saying, even the crazies, even the nuts. But the people who are in that bubble, they don't listen to anybody else. They don't listen to independent sources. They don't listen to any right-leaning sources because, oh, it's, Nazi propaganda or whatever, hate, bigotry, whatever excuse that they have. They're the ones stuck in that bubble. And that's why they don't look at other perspectives, and they think, I guess, the nation is all like everything that they see on MSNBC. Like, that's the danger. So you can't use that at all. But yeah, I'm not surprised that they don't check because they don't want any conservatives working for them. They don't want to make sure that it's, non-biased. They want it to be biased. They want conservatives out, and they just want to push the woke messaging. But I am all for defunding all of these organizations. They don't deserve any taxpayer-funded money, anything from USAID, anything. Hey, if they can make it on their own, that's fine. But you know what? I doubt it. But folks, let me know what you thought about what Tim Pool had to say about this woke CEO getting roasted for her deranged comments in this clip. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, take care, and I'll see you on the next one.